Ladies and gentlemen, it is now 6:30 and a quorum of members is present, so the meeting of the Board of Education of the School District of New Berlin is called to order. Please call the roll.
Ms. Crosby.
Here.
Mr. Helmer.
Here.
Mr. Kurth. Ms. Schulz.
Here.
Mr. Seidel.
Here.
Ms. Unger.
Here.
Ms. Wondercheck.
I would entertain a motion to recess to closed session.
Madam President, I move to recess into closed session pursuant to Section 19.851C E and F of the Wisconsin statutes to consider A, approval of closed session minutes of December 6, 2021, B, employment performance compensation matters pertaining to staff, and C, consideration of personal committee's health insurance recommendations.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Kurth, a second by Mr. Helmer. Please call the roll.
Mr. Kurth. Yes. Mr. Helmer.
Yes.
Ms. Crosby.
Yes.
Ms. Schulz.
Yes.
Mr. Seidel.
Yes.
Ms. Unger.
Yes. We are moving into closed session. There will be a short recess for the spring election drawing of lots for ballot order, and then we will return around 7 o'clock. It is now 7:06, and we are returning from closed session into open session. In recognition of the serious and important nature of our efforts here, we will join in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. For all those who are able, please rise. And now for those who wish to prepare for the meeting, we'll have a moment of silence. This is a public meeting of the Board of Education. Prior to this meeting, notice was given to the public last Friday by providing the agenda to the City Library. The agenda was also posted on the district website. A copy of the agenda was forwarded to the Journal-Sentinel, the Waukesha Freeman, and the Waukesha Now, all of which have filed requests for all public notices. We're going to begin tonight with recognitions. We have recognition of Orthopedic Hospital of Wisconsin and Aspen Orthopedics.
I'd like to have Jordan Appley come up, who is our Athletic and Activities Director at New Berlin West. And he will also be the new Associate Principal at New Berlin West starting next July.
Thank you for having me. Orthopedic Hospital of Wisconsin, they are going to be taking over the naming rights for our soccer and baseball facility. This kind of came to fruition over, frankly, a year and a half, really. Since 2019 and 20, Aspen Medical Group is what they're called, or Ascension, Medical Group, took over all of the athletic training services for both West and Eisenhower. As part of Ascension, Orthopedic Hospital of Wisconsin and Aspen Orthopedics are all partners. Don't ask me how they're all partners, but they're all partners. And so with that, our relationship with Ascension and with both OHIO and Aspen Orthopedics has kind of grown over the last couple of years. They've done some partnerships with us, things like scoreboard advertising. They've sponsored holiday basketball tournaments, things like that, but nothing from a naming rights possibility. So over the past few years, we've been trying to figure out a way to get our athletic complex named. Currently, the soccer field is named Dillett Memorial Field after former coach Mike Dillett, who passed away early 2000s. And after Tom Farina, our longtime baseball coach, retired, it was kind of our goal to get the baseball field named after him in perpetuity. And so a way to accomplish both of those things, yet getting some sponsorship and naming rights possibilities done, was to have Orthopedic Hospital and Aspen Orthopedics both name the entire complex. So it'll be OHIO Athletic Complex, and then we will name both of the fields after, well, the one field is currently named after Mike Dillett, but then we'll be able to have that opportunity to name Tom Farina Baseball Field as well. So we've worked through, back and forth with the help of Patrick to find out some opportunities and some ways to do signage down by that athletic complex. And luckily, we were able to come to an agreement. I believe it was last month or late November. And so over the next 5 years, that will be named OHIO Athletic Complex. We're working on all the signage details right now, but along Cleveland Avenue, there's a very large fence line, which will have, fingers crossed that the city will grant us our 6-month waiver, so to speak, where we can put up a windscreen and it will say OHIO Athletic Complex, home of the Vikings. There'll be some other signage needs down by the fields that will notate Mike Dillett Field, Tom Farina Field, Aspen Orthopedics, who are right in New Berlin, will have some signage on our concession stands. And that is really kind of what the plan is, and really excited about it, and it's a great opportunity for the school. So that's that. Any questions? Perfect. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we have privilege of the floor. Meetings of the board are conducted for the purpose of carrying on the business of the schools and therefore are not public meetings, but meetings held in public. This portion of the meeting is an opportunity for you to come and voice your concerns to the board. So please do not be offended when we quietly listen. We may even take notes. We do not immediately respond to your questions and comments. This is a time for you to talk and us to listen. Thank you for coming to voice your comments and concerns. When I call your name, please step up to the microphone, address the chair, and state your name and whether or not you are a resident in this school district. Each presentation is to be restricted to a maximum of 3 minutes. Privilege of the floor will be limited to 1/2 hour. Presentations are not to be designed for purposes of engaging others in debate in this forum. Discussion of certified, classified, or professional personnel or of individual Board of Education members shall not be considered an appropriate topic for this forum, and the speaker will be ruled out of order. Up first is Kathleen Lund.
Hi, my name is Katie Lund, and I reside in New Berlin. I'm at 13835 West Montana Avenue, and I'm here today basically to share with you firsthand the importance of continuing to address, plan, and implement the action steps that we need to take to make the changes that we so desperately need in the area of diversity and inclusion. My focus is what it's like for a minority student in our district, specifically my daughter, who is African American. She's now a junior at New Berlin West. Last Thursday, after coming home from work, I asked her how her day went, and she mumbled okay. She said there was some drama at school, and after encouraging her to share it to me, she said I was walking out to the car with Ella, who is a white friend, to go home, and she said a kid shouted, "The N-word, the N-word, the F-word, you're black." When I asked her what happened then, she said, well, Ella said, that's messed up, and started to walk towards him, and I said, let's go, it's cold. After talking to her more about it, she said he shouted it while there were probably anywhere from 15 to 20 other students walking with them to the buses and their cars. And no one said anything. No student said anything to her. Nothing was reported that evening that I know of, and nothing was reported that next day. I sent an email to the principal. We met the next day, Friday. We were able to identify the student, and they're taking appropriate action. But this story is one story I could be telling every year for the last 5 years, because for the last well, that's going to cost me 15 seconds. For the last 5 years, she's had instances very similar to this. I've trusted the school to take the actions needed to discipline these kids, but also hoping that there would be change, and there hasn't been. And so really, I'm desperately asking you to take the initiative. I'm not even talking about curriculum or all the other stuff that went on, and I did go back and I looked at the meetings and the presentations. I'm talking about just open dialogue with these kids. Let the kids hear from the teachers, the administration, what it's like to be a minority in the school district. And for the other kids to stand up to these kids, because she was numb. She didn't even want to tell me, because you know what she said? She said, Mom, it doesn't matter anymore. She said, I'm almost done. She said, nothing's going to change. And every year I've told her, we will take you out of the school district. We will put you in a more diverse district. She said, no, Mom, I don't want to change. We've lived here since 2007. We started at at Orchard Lane with my son. We pulled him out the first year. We put him back in the Westdale School District, which they couldn't believe when we came back at high school that we lived in New Berlin West, thinking it would be different, but it's not. And I know everybody has good in their heart. I really, truly believe that if that was your son or your daughter, you would be going, wait a minute, we got to do something about this. This is not right. I'm very passionate about this because I'm worried about my daughter. And I just feel like I haven't done, I know it's 3 minutes, but I just want to say I'm most angry at myself that I have not done what needed to be done at the beginning, which to say, what can we do to change? And I think we need to implement some steps. Restoration, working with the students that are the bullies, working with the students that have been bullied or harassed. And basically, this is hate speech. It's really a hate crime is what it is. And things need to change. And I just wanted to put it out there. I had other things written down, but as you can see, as a parent, I'm very passionate, and I just hope that we can move forward. I think there's no reason to not wait. I mean, we can do all the presentations we want. We have to have action steps, and we have to have a put down in paper and date and follow through. That's it.
Thank you. Then we have Scott Yench.
Hi, my name is Scott Yench, and I'm a resident of the New Berlin School District. I am speaking to you today on behalf of the Eisenhower Band Booster Association. I've been privileged to serve on the board for 4 years, the last 3 of which as president. The Band Booster Association consists of approximately 100 band parents, guardians, and supporters whose mission it is to support the Eisenhower band students, not only during their marching band season each fall, but throughout the year, including their Wisconsin School Music Association Solo and Ensemble Festival in the spring, and this year their combined trip to Washington, D.C. with the orchestra in March. We volunteer at events, we purchase equipment, and we purchase and build props for their marching band competitions. To make this possible, each family contributes a membership fee, and we hold various fundraisers throughout the year. Our next fundraiser is the reason that I'm here in front of you tonight. I wanted to invite you, the district staff, and the entire community to our hot chili cool jazz at the Ike Cafe here at Eisenhower on January 20th. Starting at 5:30 p.m., we'll be serving both meat and vegetarian chili with sides, drinks, and desserts. The middle school and high school jazz ensembles, the middle school jazz club, and the high school jazz class will be providing live music until 8 p.m. Additionally, the band students are assembling unique gift baskets that will be raffled off. So if you're generous and you're fortunate, you could go home with a great basket full of items for a movie night or other themed goodies based on the creativity of our students. Advance tickets are available on our website and for many of our band students, and sales are also available at the door. For more information, please visit our website at eisenhowerbands.org. We look forward to seeing you all there to enjoy some hot food and some cool jazz music provided by the students that we are all here to support. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is President's Message, and I'd just like to welcome everybody back from our winter break. We're just about to start our second semester, and just wishing all of our students that they do very well in their end of their semester exams. Good luck to everyone. And we have our administrative team report.
I'd like to start with New Berlin West update from Emily.
Thank you. So Academic Decathlon had regionals last week. They placed 3rd overall and will be headed to state in March. DECA brought 20 competitors to district last weekend and will bring 15 of them to state. Our theater program is working hard on the winter musical, Mamma Mia, which will be performed the weekend of February 4th. Crystal Ball is coming up soon. The student government is working hard to plan a fun spirit week and an out-of-this-world themed dance. The Norse Code released their first magazine of the year with articles on student sleep, ballet, horoscopes, and more. Our students raised $700 to purchase coats for refugees from Afghanistan that are living in Fort McCoy. Our school has been hosting Career Thursdays during Flex to open students' minds to future opportunities. Last week's session was about game design and marketing. Both schools had academic and career planning family nights to discuss the learning paths for students grades 7 through 12. New Berlin United Wrestling is going well so far this season with a 10-1 conference record and an 11th place finish at Port Washington on Friday. New Berlin West Cheer is headed to UCA Nationals in February. POMs had their alumni night last week and performed with their own POM graduates. New Berlin West had their first Vike Night last Friday. Vike Nights are new to the school this year, and there is one for each sport. Fans are encouraged to come to these nights to support their school and participate in halftime games and raffles. Last week's Vike Night was for girls basketball against Pius. Upcoming Vike Nights are on January 12th for swim, January 19th for wrestling, and February 8th for boys basketball. And many spring sport athletes have been going to Viking conditioning to get ready for their upcoming seasons. Thank you.
Thank you. We have the superintendent update.
Yes, I do have a few updates. I did want to briefly touch on COVID updates. As the board's aware, it's, things fluctuate, whether it's cases, whether it's guidance, whether it's, access to vaccines and so on, and age groups, and variants now is the kind of the new driving force behind a lot of things. We will continue to move in the direction of keeping our schools open. And at the same time, we will continue to consider the guidance that's being provided by the CDC, the state DHS, and then also the county health department. What I can say is, things literally last year changed by the minute. And, things kind of calmed down there for a lot of the school year. And then it just seems that all of a sudden there's a lot of, and I get that the new variant is certainly more easily spread, but then it's not in talking to the health department as far as student cases. While yes, they're up, hospitalizations are down. Death rates, just generally speaking, are down, even though the spread is more. And so, and then sometimes you hear about as far as masking and do we need N95 masks and should we mask as a district or not? And will N95s be the ones that are required that will actually make the difference? Because I'm, sometimes now we're reading that those are the only ones that actually make a difference. And so, just want to remind not only the board but the general public that yes, we will continue to receive feedback, consider that feedback, consult with the various health departments, particularly the county health department, as well as other Waukesha County school districts. What I can say is what we have been doing, and somebody has asked, as recently as, do we have thresholds for closing? And we don't. And part of the reason is because there are so many variables to those thresholds that are at hand, and so part of it is, like at one point is vaccination rates. And, now what we're reading and what the cases are is there's all these breakthrough cases. And so, one wonders if you would have set a threshold. And now, I wonder, I think about school districts like MPS. And then I just recently read that there was another school district, and I can't recall which one, but they closed 3 other elementary schools based on thresholds that were set. And in fact, one neighboring school district mentioned that they set thresholds arbitrarily, and that, that they set those thresholds and they really didn't have the numbers that went with it. And or, there was, other than this is just what they thought. And a lot of this is just that. And I'm kind of glad that I continue to recommend we shouldn't set thresholds because there are so many different variables. And so, yes, we will continue to monitor. Yes, we will continue to let parents know if their student is a close contact. We will continue to provide parents with options as needed. And that's one thing that the district has done for the last 2 years. Last year, 25% of our students, roughly, for most of last year, chose a virtual option. We probably had less than or about 1 to 2% of families choose that option this year. As certain variants came up and, as the numbers started creeping up recently over the course of the last month, parents are choosing to do things differently with their students. So if they have a concern at school, they are then choosing to pull their kids out on a temporary basis. Others continue to send their kids to school because they may not be in a situation where they have those options to be able to accommodate to their respective student. We would encourage parents to continue to work with their teachers, work with their principals to address their specific students' needs. But again, we will continue to consider the feedback, the suggestions that are being made, and I just want to clarify that recommendations are strictly recommendations, and that this school board ultimately has the local control to make decisions for this school district. And that's what the county continues to tell me, is that it is, they have recommendations and guidelines, but they also understand that we are the ones that have to operationalize that and instill it and implement, and they do not. And so, with that, we'll continue. We did have recent guidance provided to us again today from the state health department that we will be reviewing with the county health department on Wednesday. as things continue to change. For example, isolation periods changed over winter break. I did let the board know that. We informed parents of the changes. We did clarify some things once we had a chance to talk to the county last week on our website. Again, we continue to move forward. I will continue to tell you that the numbers will continue to spike and plateau and go down. And they do that in every community. And as of right now, we seem to be doing okay as far as general numbers go. We were up to 60 plus cases a day with students that were COVID positive. We're down to the low 40s as of today. As far as, I'll continue to say, and other districts are experiencing this, I think the biggest factor, I don't think we're going to close down due to student cases. I think if we were to close down, it's because we wouldn't have enough staff to staff our student needs. Even there, we're being very creative as needed. And we're working with our staff, but our staff rates have gone significantly lower since this last spike. In fact, they're some of the lowest in the county right now. So, again, we'll continue to trudge forward as we have.
Can you repeat that? Sorry, did you say our staff case counts are lower than the rest of the county?
Than most of the county, yes.
Okay.
They were up there, as we came out of winter break, where we were, again, having to be creative as we have been for the last year and a half. It's what we expect. And now we're, I believe, less than 10 COVID positive cases for staff. And we were up in the higher 20s, I believe, at one point. So, and again, we were still able to operate school. And, some things may have looked differently, but, again, we do believe it's important for our students to be in school. What's happening in other school districts, I just cannot imagine. The learning loss, we realized that there was no learning loss or minimal learning loss here in this school district, unlike other school districts that were closed most of last year, and they continue to close their schools. And quite honestly, I don't think they're closing their schools because of the pandemic or the of COVID, but they're closing because the unions are telling them they should, which is such a travesty in my opinion. But so with that, that is my COVID update. And then I have a couple of other updates that I wanted to share related to social studies, which the board did approve an update related to social studies resources. I did provide an update to the board, I believe, last month in a written update, but I would like Kelly to kind of speak to it to the general public.
So briefly, as you all know, you approved some new social studies resources for us. And so far, the feedback that we're getting from staff, students, and families is really good. One of our biggest draws was to choose a resource that really instilled not only the knowledge, but also a lot about vocabulary acquisition for our students, because that's always an area of literacy that we want to continue to strengthen is vocabulary. So, at the elementary level, the teachers are liking that the resource is consumable. One reason is because students can take it home with them, and it kind of also demonstrates our transparency with our families, because families can know what is in those resources and in those take-home pieces. We also switched our 6th grade to a resource that is it's the same resource company as our middle school. So that's going to help with our transition into middle school and our students transitioning into middle school. So we've had some training, some professional development for our staff. And so far, every time Brady's gone and talked to teachers, they've been really similar to what we heard with math. They've been very excited about what we have chosen and what we're utilizing for social studies.
Yeah, a couple other things. We had been talking about bringing forth some sort of cultural or heritage fest to the community. Being so close to Milwaukee with all the different festivals that are there, we don't really do anything like that, at least locally. I do know that we partner with the Chamber of Commerce to kind of do a New Berlin festival. You've got your Holy Apostles, you've got your 4th of July with the city, which is a big event. I know we moved away from like the Christmas parade, I think mainly due to funding this year. Hopefully that'll come back. But this was something that we wanted to try. In fact, we were trying to plan for something last year, but because of the pandemic, we weren't really sure what we should or shouldn't be doing. And we believe we've got some good traction now for a community event that we're going to host that I'd like Kelly to provide a little bit more detail on.
So something has come out to you. You should have seen it, the save the date for the May 7th. It's going to be from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And it is the School District of New Berlin's International Heritage Festival. Basically, our focus is that it supports an increased awareness and appreciation of the identities that make up our SDNB community. To work towards this goal, we are holding this event to learn more about and experience the many cultures and traditions shared by our students, their families, as well as those in the community. So we are planning a lot of activities for our own students. A lot of our students do different activities, not only art at the high school, music, some of the family history activities that are done. So students will be showcasing their work. We're going to have some food trucks. We're going to have 2 live stages to have some dance and some music. So we're still in the real depths of the planning of this, but even our high school Spanish National Honor Society, our high school students are going to be doing activities with children who are present. So it's a multi-generational, multicultural event, and we are excited that we're going to be able to pull this off on May 7th. And it's going to be over at West in the Field House, and then in that back parking lot for the food trucks.
And just, it is 2 days after Cinco de Mayo, so I do believe I'll still be there, but I just wanted to clarify that. I did want to also mention that I will not be here for the first meeting in February, and so Kelly will actually be leading the board meeting on the administration's behalf. I will be at a conference in Nashville, at least at this point, as part of my AASA National Certifications Superintendent program. So I need to be a part of that, and I did ask if there was a virtual option. There is not at this point, but I do know that the state convention is changing by the minute, so I'm not sure if I'll actually be going, but that is the plan. I may be calling in, but I do think that Kelly will do a fine job of being here and representing myself and the admin team at that meeting. Those are our updates. Thank you.
Thank you. We have our consent agenda as the next item on the agenda. It includes the notice and the approved minutes of December 6th. Are there any items that should be pulled out for separate consideration? Do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Helmer and a second by Mr. Kurth to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion passes. On to the regular agenda. First up is discuss open enrollment policy and seat projections.
Yeah, so we are, again, this is really just a discussion tonight. We're not necessarily asking for any approvals, but based upon the guidance during the board's last meeting that there would be no changes to the policy 5114 open enrollment, we did attach the open enrollment seat projections for 22-23 for an initial review. These numbers are based upon current enrollment, class size averages, and a number of grade level classes moved forward by 1 grade. This also takes into account the 9% buffer used last year for new resident enrollees or students returning from homeschool or those open enrolled out. As you can see, there are projected to be 0 seats available in all grades. In fact, the seats do not become available at any grade until we apply a 7% buffer, which is a change that would go against what our legal counsel's advice is, and even that would only yield 1 seat at the 7th grade. So again, we really just wanted to provide this information to you in advance of the next meeting, which is where we will be seeking approval of the policy and the seats. And as of right now, the policy, there are no changes based on the conversation. So I guess Diana and I are happy to answer any questions.
Joe, does the draft account for the fact that we still have, how does it account for the fact that we still have some kids in open enrollment seats right now? So how do we reflect
They're
that?
included in those counts.
They're included in the counts of
Yes,
the
because
projections
they're
that we're rolling
guaranteed.
over year after year?
Yes.
Okay. And are we expecting any siblings to join us in addition to these numbers, or are those numbers also rolled in as a projection?
No, those are not factored in, and we are, as of right now, we have reached out. We anticipate a handful of students as of right now, but it's hard to project who may move out.
Sure.
And that's, I've had a conversation with a parent last week where they are looking at moving out and are wondering whether they can keep their kids in the district.
Sure.
Because they can't find a home in New Berlin. And if
Sure.
the board does keep the guarantee, then in that case they would be allowed to stay.
Yeah.
So it's hard to project exactly, but I think we're looking at about a handful that we know of right now. And most of those kids are coming in at the kindergarten level or very early age.
Okay.
Because we absorbed most of those siblings that were older
Yeah.
this last year.
Okay.
And so, again, probably the biggest factor that I can't predict is who's going to plan on moving out that wants to keep their kids here.
Sure.
So that's
Yeah.
tough to project at this time, but I do know we continuously get questions often, and it's just a matter of if and when they choose to do that.
Okay. And then as far as the establishment of the waiting list, what is the deadline for people to apply for open enrollment? Even though we don't have any seats projected available, they would still have a deadline to apply. And is that the end of February? April.
The window opens February 7th, and it's through
That's when the window opens.
April 29th.
Okay, very good. I didn't remember. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Again, happy to answer any comments, questions, concerns. Again, we're not asking for a decision tonight, but we will be asking for a decision at the next meeting.
All right, if there's no other questions on that, we'll move on to the next one, which is discuss, approve, deletion of current policy 1520, associations and memberships. At our last meeting, we were looking at replacing it. We voted that down and agreed that we were bringing it back to this meeting to officially delete it since it was not needed. And we checked with legal counsel who said that there really wasn't a need for it, and so they recommended deleting it.
I'll make a motion to delete policy 1520.
Second.
So I have a motion by Mr. Seidel and a second by Mr. Helmer to approve deletion. Any discussion? None discussion. So then all those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed? Motion passes. Then we have first read of some policies. 3120, employment of professional staff. 3122.01, drug-free workplace. And 3242, professional growth requirements. And these were also already reviewed initially by the Personnel Committee. So are there any questions on these? All right, if there's no, if any questions come up before our next meeting, please email those.
Actually, I do have
You do?
one question.
Okay, go
Yeah,
ahead.
sorry. We on drug-free workplace, 312201. The CBD products prohibited. We were going to put all of that with the marijuana stuff into the employee handbook. Are we planning on keeping the CBD language? Did we get any feedback on? Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? All right, then we'll move on to our Personnel Committee update. Please give us an update, Ms. Unger.
We had a personnel committee meeting on January 3rd. So we did talk about employee benefits. There are no changes recommended this year to the employee benefits, basically because of kind of the differences in health care and claims the last year and a half due to the pandemic, as well as kind of the changes that have been made over the last few years, and things working well. Also, the new benefits consultant is going to kind of be doing an evaluation and looking ahead to the following year. We went through the Everside clinic survey results. Staff was surveyed about Everside. Those documents are in the board packet for the rest of the board to review. There were some staff that did not know yet about Everside, but in general, for those using it, which was about a third of the survey respondents, the comments and feedback on the clinic were positive. We went through the policies, obviously, that we just went over tonight. And then we talked a little bit about referral bonuses. The administration is working on exploring the possibility of a referral bonus program for next school year. The committee kind of gave the green light for the district to kind of finalize their thoughts on that and bring that to the board in February. And then I also have the items listed. We will be meeting on February 7th to go through the employee handbook changes for next year, any contract renewals or wage comparison changes, as well as the last 4 of the personnel committee or the personnel policies that we haven't yet reviewed in the last couple of years. Any questions?
Thank you for that update. We have action items discussed in closed session. So we have 2 motions. Do I have a motion for the first one?
Yes, I move to approve the employment performance and compensation matters pertaining to staff as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Kurth, a second by Mr. Helmer to approve. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed? Motion passes. And then we have our second one.
I move that we approve the Personnel Committee's recommendation on no benefit changes for the next school year.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Unger, a second by Mr. Helmer to approve. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed? Motion passes. We have our future meetings and dates. Board meetings are generally held the second and fourth Mondays, beginning at 7:00 p.m. in the Eisenhower Commons, unless noted otherwise, which happens to be our next one, January 24th, 7:00 p.m. will be at Poplar Creek Elementary in the gym. It will include a building tour. And then February 7th, there's a personnel committee meeting at 4:00 p.m. virtual. And then there is a meeting February 14th, so you get to spend Valentine's Day with us, 7:00. It will be at Ronald Reagan Elementary, or it will be, the room is to be determined yet, but it also will include a building tour. Other important events and dates to remember are January 17th, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. There will be no school. January 24th, there is a Staff Professional Learning Day, and there will also be no school on that day. It also is the end of the first semester. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Helmer, second by Mr. Kurth to adjourn. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed? Motion passes. This meeting is adjourned.
Warn me if you're